A woman allegedly of Nigerian descent origin arrived in Ireland in October 2023 on a South African passport. Upon arrival, it's alleged that she claimed asylum.
Came here for asylum because of the attack on myself and on my children. And then for Dublin to send us back to South Africa is going to cause a huge damage on myself and my children. So we are pleading for the community and the general island to please pardon us and allow us to stay.
When did you first come, Titi, to Ireland? When did you move here?
2023 October. I came here with my 3 boys. When we came to Ireland, we settled in completely. I started volunteering and my son, they engage in school and sports and they are doing very well. My second son qualified for scholarship. So 4 scholarship was given to him. Then we chose Gonzaga. He has been doing very well. He has made friends. He's representing the school. He's also representing Ireland. He qualified for national match, 1,300 meters boys.
Okay.
So taking us back is going to cause a huge damage in their mental health.
What was your reaction, Titi, when you got this deportation letter?
I nearly collapsed because I lose everything. I was devastated. I don't know what to do. The rugby club,
they're all there to support you.
Everybody.
Then faced deportation, possibly back to South Africa. So there's been a lot of confusion around this case, around this matter. Why South Africa? Is South Africa a dumping ground for persona non grata people, or why not back to Nigeria? Okay, so we're going to look at the passport versus citizenship versus residency. Looking at South Africa. So under South African law, South African Citizenship Act of 1988 of 1995, post-apartheid constitution, only citizens may hold South African passport. Permanent residency is not equivalent to passport entitlement. So it's alleged that this person had a permanent residency in South Africa and then traveled to Ireland. Then the question that I have about this, how then she got to Ireland and presented a South African passport if she was only a resident of South Africa, not a citizen of South Africa. Only a citizen of South Africa is entitled to a passport of South Africa. Only citizens, the only time when the South African Constitution differentiate between residency and citizenship. That citizenship is the constitutionality. So residency, permanent residency doesn't entitle a person to have a South African passport. So the question then, we must assume that she must legally be a South African citizen by naturalization because she's of Nigerian descent, or there is misinformation, possibly some alleged fraudulent activity about how she traveled to Ireland to claim this asylum. So Ireland, unfortunately, has seen a lot of African migrants showing up into the border, holding a South African passport, claiming asylum. Many of them not South African by birth of origin, but by South African through naturalization, meaning they've migrated to South Africa and then they acquire South African documents, and then entitle them to carry South African passport. Upon being given that South African passport, then they go to Europe and other countries. When they arrive, they claim asylum. This has led to Ireland and UK first and then Ireland to stop the visa travel of a South African passport holder. This phenomena. And this phenomena, actually, some of it is due to South Africa's fraudulent activity, the Home Affairs Department saga of fraudulent activities, that we know that now we have people in prison who've been charged and been, sentenced, serving time in prison as a result of fraudulent activity at Home Affairs, were South African nationals who were, of low income, unsuspecting. Their identity was sold to these foreign nationals in order for them to be entitled to be in South Africa, and then use the very same identity of those South Africans to actually apply for passport. Some go to European countries. And then Home Affairs realized there were duplicates, and they actually stopped that duplicates of them. Some of them, they would have done that so illegally through dodgy Home Affairs officials that we know that are in jail and been fined and charged for doing this stuff. So it's very, common to hear this fraudulent activity. South Africans concerned about a someone of African descent holding the passport because of the fear that they may be doing other activities other than, just in genuine a law-abiding citizen. So that's a very common perception around that. So with this case, also that perception arose around how then did she acquire this South African passport if she only traveled to South Africa. She only traveled uh, to Ireland using the passport, South African passport, and she's has a residency in South Africa, not a citizenship. That one, we cannot answer that question because it's around the authority in Ireland themselves that would have done their own investigation. And she was due for deportation. They've subsequently held that deportation in Ireland for not deporting her. But they, you know, holding deportation doesn't mean that they've accepted her claim, her asylum claim. No, because if anyone from any country, let me say, anyone from any country can claim asylum. Okay, asylum is just to say that you claim that you've been persecuted. All right, and they have to assess it based on your personal claim. Why are you saying you've been persecuted? So it doesn't depend on the passport holder. The person is holding a certain passport. Okay, let's be aware of that stuff. So the deportation itself could be, country of if that permanent residency still exists in South Africa, because in South Africa, people get that permanent residency if they've continuously lived in South Africa for 5 years. Yes, they've been residing in South Africa for 5 years. Then they would be eligible for this permanent residency to apply for it after 5 years. I'm not sure if when they leave the country, whether they lose that residency, then South Africa, it could still be available for her to be deported back to South Africa. But she claimed that in South Africa, she will face xenophobia. Now, xenophobia, it's like racism. It's everywhere in every country you get it. So you need a higher bar to stop being deported than the word xenophobia. All right. So xenophobia is like people fearful, don't want to like people who are from other countries. They're fearful of other people from other countries. That is not a yeah, she claimed the xenophobic attack, which is serious then, but there is no evidence of it. So if you're claiming all that stuff, South Africa is a constitutional democracy. Ireland would be able to get that information. So if there's no evidence of that, then deportation is lawful. So the issue for her not to be deported, it really hinges on a lot of things. It hinges on whether or not, the consideration to the kids, children's well-being, and maybe the time schooling matter. They may consider that, but it doesn't mean that Ireland will not deport her back to a country of origin. They may be looking at other stuff, or they may still be investigating further about that. But it's not a permanent stay. Yes, it's not a permanent stay. So the issue here is that for South Africa, immigration law reform is really way overdue. Because in the past, South Africa has been offering these foreign nationals the, permanent residency without character reference, without proof of good or law-abiding citizenship, without really showing learning language, being culturally included into South Africa. That is likely to end. Today is the last day to put a submission for white paper for immigration in South Africa because they're looking at the broader sort of aligning with other international countries like Europe to look at things like skills, your character reference, not just how long you've been in South Africa, whether you're married to a South African or not, which has been a very dangerous press that one because it's led to a lot of these fake marriages because people just think, okay, because I don't want to claim asylum, therefore I'll just find someone I can marry for papers. That one is common. That one, yeah, it's going to all be reformed for that. It will go. People are going to be assessed based on their, behavior and criminality and the contribution they bring into South African society, just like here in Australia. Not based on the fact that you married someone, you met someone online and just got married, and then you can stay. They don't even the danger of it, they don't even assess whether the marriage is valid or not. Just people would just find a loophole that, we're just going to marry for paper. Very common phenomenon. We've moved away from just taking away South African citizens, unsuspecting citizens of their identity. We've moved to another criminal activities of just marrying people who some of them didn't even know they were married. The officials were involved in this saga, marrying unsuspecting South Africans for this getting money from these criminals, are in jail. Are in jail. So I think the issue here is very serious. For South Africa, it's very serious. There's a serious implication around who you give your citizenship to. Because you can have someone go to like Ireland and be running there without citizenship and asking for asylum because they don't have skills that allow them to apply directly to Ireland, to be part of Ireland society, to bring contribution to Ireland society. So immigration should always about that. Should be about what a person is contributing to that society, not whether that person is smart enough to jump the queue and is able to claim asylum that doesn't exist, and which undermine the very concept of seeking humanitarian protecting people who are vulnerable. It's it's a very it's an issue that is it's a debate that can get very emotional in all part. Even here in Australia, when you listen to immigration debates are always emotional. But immigration law, when you look at it, it's procedural, it's structured and technical. If we want accountability, we must first understand the legal framework of the immigration law. All right. So the legal logic is really simple. If she traveled on a South African passport, she is legally a South African citizen unless proven otherwise, unless it's been investigated that those documents were acquired fraudulently. If she's a citizen, therefore deportation to South Africa is lawful because South Africa is not being considered as one of the high risk country that you can deport people to. So the controversy online tends to confuse the passport, the citizenship, the permanent residency, asylum eligibility. These are legal distinction categories actually that we need to look into it really. I just feel like these countries need to review this UN Refugee Asylum Convention and to see if it's actually working properly, whether it needs to be strengthened. to avoid having people taking advantage of it. It's just what I think needs to happen, because it's not just our island. So, even in South Africa, got a lot of them there. They're coming as far as Pakistan, as far as Ethiopia. So they've passed a lot of countries, safe countries, to get to South Africa. So is that a fear, that one? You could ask yourself, are you fearful if you've passed that many countries that are safe? Or are you just choosing the country to go to? There. That's a question. Okay. See you guys.